Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 13. Yeshu did not reply, but Chang Yuan was the first to react. No. This has nothing to do with the young master. What I did today was of my own volition. It has nothing to do with him. Hearing this, Jin Wang tilted his head and asked, he said it has nothing to do with you. Is that true? Yeshu narrowed his eyes and did not reply. Very good. Jin Wang calmly said, assassinating the emperor is a capital offense that deserved the capital punishment. Drag him away and dismember him. Yeshu hurriedly said, please don't. This subordinate had appeared in the novel before. He was indeed the original's trusted aide. This person was loyal and devoted to the original. When the original was captured, he was lucky enough to escape. After seeing the original was executed by Lin, he hid among the people and looked for an opportunity to assassinate Jin Wang. However, in the end, the assassination failed and he died under the same punishment as the original. Even if he was just a character in the novel, Yeshu could not bear to see him die in front of his eyes. Not to mention that he had died for him. Jin Wang asked, my beloved official, are you pleading for mercy on behalf of this criminal? His voice was low and deep, and it was clear that he was unhappy. Yeshu pursed his lips and was about to speak, but he could only let out muffled groan, woo. Jin Wang, he actually. Yeshu suddenly grabbed Jin Wang's wrist. He gritted his teeth and softly pleaded. Don't. There were so many people here. Was this dog emperor mad? However, Jin Wang only let out a low groan and easily broke free from Yeshu's grip. The passion from before had not yet subsided, but now it was easily stirred up again. The dizzying familiar feeling came back. Yeshu's fingertips trembled as he helplessly grabbed Jin Wang's clothes. But the cloak covered his movements. Only the corners of Yeshu's eyes, which were gradually turning red from being bullied, could be seen. He felt the small area behind his ear begun to heat up again. Jin Wang whispered in his ear, say something. Beloved official, aren't you going to plead for mercy on his behalf? Yeshu was speechless. The trusted subordinate of the original was still kneeling in front of him, and there were more than 10 imperial guards with high martial arts standing around him. He was so nervous that he couldn't stand being bullied. However, the other party appeared to be calm and collected. It was obvious that he was deliberately toying with him and was unwilling to give him a quick death. Feeling as if he was neither up nor down, it was extremely unbearable. Yeshu couldn't take it anymore and begged softly, Your Majesty. I beg you. This plead was not only for his subordinate but also for himself. Jin Wang naturally understood the meaning behind his words, but he did not let go. Instead, he calmly increased his strength and said, not enough. My beloved official, you have to show this emperor your sincerity. The imperial guards had already lowered their heads before Jin Wang spoke, and the assassins were also pressed down on the ground. No one could see their movements on top of the horse. The corners of Yeshu's eyes turned red. He turned his head and quickly kissed Jin Wang on the lips. Is this enough? Jin Wang stared at him and whispered, it's still not enough. Dog emperor. Idiot emperor. Yeshu tried his best to maintain his rationality and gritted his teeth. What does your majesty want me to do? Jin Wang asked, my beloved official, don't you mean to say that Zhen can do whatever Zhen want? In reality, as the emperor, Yeshu was not in the position to object to whatever Jin Wang wanted. However, he still pretended as if he had a choice. He was doing it on purpose. Yeshu looked at him for a moment, then said through gritted teeth, Your Majesty. Jin Wang finally smiled gently and ordered, all of you are dismissed. This was the first time that an assassin who had tried to assassinate the emperor managed to keep his life. The imperial guards escorted the assassin out of the forest, even further away than before. Jin Wang loosened the cloak around Yeshu, and the rich and sweet smell of plum blossoms filled the forest. The scent of fruit and wood was already ripe, and it impatiently wrapped itself around Jin Wang's body, longing to be comforted. Jin Wang stopped teasing him and lowered his head to gently bite and lick the little mole behind Yeshu's ear, carefully comforting him. As the scent of the alpha scent entered his body, Yeshu's fingertips tensed up for a moment, then gradually relaxed. Yeshu recovered from his daze and blinked a few times. "Your Majesty. Are you feeling better?" Yeshu was still not fully back to his senses and asked in a daze, "Why did I?" Before Yeshu could finish his question, he was so shocked by Jin Wang's next action that he almost fell off his horse. You, what are you doing?" Jin Wang said, "This emperor helped you, so shouldn't you also help Zhen? Be good, put your legs together." The hunting ground they were at was not far from the temporary imperial residence. 4 hours later, Jin Wang directly led Yeshu back to the temporary imperial residence on his horse. The latter was exhausted and drowsy in Jin Wang's arms. Jin Wang carried him back to the bed in the sleeping quarters and pinched his face in disdain. "You've been getting lazier and lazier these past few days. All you know is to sleep. No wonder your body is so weak." Yeshu was so tired that his eyelids were drooping. He said weakly, "Yes, your Majesty is fierce and extraordinary. Your spirit is like that of a dragon and a tiger. This subject naturally cannot compare. Jin Wang was angered to the point of laughing. "Go back to sleep." Yeshu did not reply. He rolled over and fell asleep on the inside of the bed. Jin Wang carefully covered him with a blanket, then got up and walked towards the door. Head steward Gao Jin immediately came forward to greet him. After the door to the sleeping quarters was closed, Jin Wang ordered, "Bring the assassin you just captured to see Zhen." Gao Jin replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." Warm incense was burning in the imperial study. Jin Wang took a sip of tea and calmly called out, "Chang Yuan." The person kneeling in front of the hall was shackled. "Yes. Minister Ye has begged for mercy in order to save your life." Jin Wang's eyes darkened and his voice was cold. "Your crimes are unforgivable, but seeing how loyal you are to Minister Ye, Zhen can give you a chance." He raised his hand, and Gao Jing placed a pill in front of Chang Yuan. "This is highly toxic and there is no medicine in the world that can cure it. The only way to save your life is to take the secret medicine that this emperor owned. That medicine can delay the onset of the poison for 1 month each time." Jin Wang said, "If you eat it, Zhen will allow you to continue to stay by Minister Ye's side as a personal guard." A trace of surprise flashed through Chang Yuan's eyes. He did not expect Jin Wang to give him such a choice. Without any hesitation, he took the pill and swallowed it. Jin Wang said, "Untie him." Gao Jin stepped forward and untied Chang Yuan's shackles. Chang Yuan bowed and said, Thank you, Your Majesty." Jin Wang said to Gao Jin, "You can leave first." Gao Jin replied, "As Your Majesty commands." Gao Jin closed the door of the imperial study and left. Only Jin Wang and Chang Yuan were left in the hall. Jin Wang played with the teacup in his hand and asked, "Chang Yuan, Zhen remembered that you joined Ashu's side 7 years ago, correct?" Chang Yuan replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." 7 years ago, Yeshu had saved Chang Yuan's life. Jin Wang knew about this. A few years after that, the three of them lived together for a period of time until Jin Wang ascended the throne. Yeshu, Jin Wang, and Chang Yuan were about the same age. Chang Yuan was the oldest of the three, while Yeshu was the youngest. Jin Wang said, "At that time, Zhen was still a prince. During the struggle for the throne, you actually helped Zhen quite a bit. This one don't dare. This subordinate only listened to the young master's orders. Only listened to young master's orders." Jin Wang narrowed his eyes. "So, when he wanted to kill Zhen, did you also help him?" Chang Yuan was startled and said anxiously, "Your Majesty, young master definitely did not have any intention of rebelling. There must be a misunderstanding. Your young master has already admitted to the crime of rebellion. Why do you have to cover for him?" Jin Wang said calmly, Zhen won't pursue this matter for now. You can rest assured. Zhen is keeping you here to ask about another matter. You need to answer truthfully. Chang Yuan replied, as your majesty commands. Jin Wang was not in a hurry to speak. The imperial study was silent for a long time. After some time, Jin Wang said softly, you've been following Ashu all these years. Don't you feel that? Ashu seems to have changed a lot in recent years. Chang Yuan was startled. What does your majesty mean? Jin Wang replied, you only have to say yes or no. Yes, your majesty. Chang Yuan hesitated for a long time before saying in a low voice, young master's personality is very different from before. His methods also became more ruthless. It's like. Chang Yuan did not dare to continue speaking. The young emperor sitting on the dragon throne sighed softly and spoke slowly. It's like, he's become a different person. End chapter. Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 14. Chang Yuan only left the imperial study when the sky gradually darkened. The door to the imperial study opened and closed. The head steward, Gao Jin, stepped into the hall and saw Jin Wang leaning against the dragon throne, tiredly massaging his forehead. Gao Jin walked over, is your majesty tired? Shall this servant give you a massage? Forget it. Jin Wang waved his hand and asked, what is Minister Ye doing right now? Minister Ye is still asleep. The tiredness on Jin Wang's face dissipated a little, and a trace of warmth appeared in his eyes. He slept the entire afternoon, this guy. Gao Jin probed, this servant saw that Minister Ye's spirit was not good these past few days. Perhaps, he overworked himself and hurt his body. Jin Wang glanced at him and said, are you saying that this emperor does not know how to control himself? This slave wouldn't dare. The head steward lowered his head submissively but his face said, aren't you aware yourself? Jin Wang was annoyed, these past few days, this emperor simply dash. This emperor was simply touching him. After that fruitless bedtime, Jin Wang had asked the imperial physician in a roundabout way. The imperial physician said, the alpha's incense was undetectable but it has a great effect on his omega. This effect is much stronger than ordinary wine. In addition, the pheromone-suppressing pill that Minister Ye took suppressed his pheromone, causing it to be unable to resonate with his alpha's pheromones. He can smell it and have a reaction to it but he is unable to absorb it. This is the reason why he got drunk. In short, unless Yeshu stopped taking the medicine, he would not be able to handle Jin Wang's pheromones with a clear mind. Of course, there was another method. When the alpha was making love, he had to deliberately control his pheromones so that it would not be released. However, this was even more unbearable than abstinence. Jin Wang did not want to treat himself unfairly but he also did not want to take someone who was unconscious. As a result, although he had been intimate with Yeshu for the past few days, he had not gone all the way. Jin Wang felt suffocated at the thought of this. Unfortunately, there were always people who came up against him. Gao Jin had followed Jin Wang for many years and was very good at reading his expressions. Seeing that His Majesty was already angry, he hurriedly said, this servant has just asked the imperial kitchen to make Minister Ye's favorite pastries. It's time for dinner. Does your Majesty want to wake Minister Ye up for dinner? As expected, Jin Wang's expression softened when Yeshu was mentioned. Jin Wang said, this emperor will personally tell him that the meal is ready. Yeshu got disturbed by light when he slept so there was only a dim glazed lamp outside the bedroom. Jin Wang entered the room alone. The young man was still sleeping soundly on the soft bed. Today, he asked Chang Yuan many questions. Everything that had happened with Yeshu over the past 3 years, every single strange incident, every single detail, no matter how big or small. Jin Wang did not completely believe the words of Yeshu's subordinate. However, he could tell that, the past 3 years were not as simple as he had imagined. Was it a case of grafting flowers onto a tree, or was there something else going on? Jinwang could not understand at the moment. He sat down by the bed and looked at the sleeping man. He sighed and said in a low voice, "How many more secrets do you have that this emperor doesn't know?" The young man on the bed suddenly closed his eyes and said, "I'm not telling you." Jinwang. For a moment, Jinwang thought that the young man was deliberately pretending to be asleep. However, in the next second, he heard Yeshu mumble, "Why should I tell you, dog Jinwang?" Jinwang. Very good, he's still asleep. Jinwang was so angry that he laughed. He leaned down and instantly closed the distance between the two of them. "Why don't you say another word?" Yeshu seemed to feel the pressure from the outside world even in his dream. He frowned slightly and moved his lips, "Dog." Before he could finish his words, his mouth was fiercely blocked. Jinwang used a little more strength and licked and nibbled on those two soft lips, sucking them ferociously. Yeshu woke up in the midst of this breathless kiss. He opened his eyes and his hazy vision immediately met with a pair of handsome eyes. The two of them looked at each other silently for a moment. Yeshu blinked in a daze. Jinwang calmly let go of him. "Are you awake now?" Yeshu had not woken up from his long sleep. He tilted his head and touched his lips that were numb from the emperor's kisses. Jinwang loved this dazed look of his and couldn't help but pinch the young man's cheek. It was warm and smooth, and it felt good to touch. Yeshu gradually regained consciousness and asked, "Are you secretly taking advantage of me again?" "No." Jinwang retracted his hand. Without waiting for Yeshu to ask again, he said, "This emperor is doing it blatantly." "Yeshu." Someone knocked on the door of the hall. It was the eunuch bringing dinner in. Jinwang straightened up. "Don't sleep anymore. Get up and eat." Yeshu had been sleeping and eating a lot these past few days. He had become extremely picky about his food. He didn't eat vegetables, meat, or anything spiced. He didn't eat anything spicy. He didn't eat anything with spring onions or ginger. He was even harder to please than the emperor himself. However, the emperor was happy to indulge him. Every day, he would instruct the imperial kitchen to cook his favorite dishes. All kinds of delicacies were placed on the table. Yeshu swept his gaze across the table and stopped on a small and exquisite pastry. Jinwang understood tacitly and placed it on his plate. "Do you want to eat this?" "Yes." Yeshu nodded. The pastry's crust was soft and firm. It was sprinkled with sesame seeds, and the filling was light pink. It was sweet and sour and left a fragrant taste in his mouth. Yeshu squinted his eyes in satisfaction. Jinwang didn't pick up his chopsticks. He quietly watched as Yeshu finished the pastry. When Yeshu was about to pick up another pastry, he leisurely said, "This emperor remembers that my beloved official didn't like to eat this kind of pastry in the past." Yeshu's hand paused and the pastry fell onto the table. "This emperor remembers that during last year's banquet, the imperial palace invited a Yangzhou cook. He was an expert in all kinds of pastries and sweet soups." Jinwang paused, then said, "My beloved official said that he didn't like sweets. That night, he didn't eat a single bite of what the cook made." There was such a thing. Yeshu thought for a moment, then smiled. His Majesty also said that was in the past. This official didn't like to eat these sweet foods in the past, but people's tastes change. What's so strange about that? Jinwang smiled. "Oh, so that's how it is." The two didn't mention this matter again. Jinwang placed another pastry on Yeshu's plate. The meal was eaten harmoniously and warmly. Only the head eunuch, who was waiting on the side, was in a daze. When did His Majesty hold a banquet last year? And where did this Yangzhou cook come from? Minister Ye didn't like sweets, then why did His Majesty always gift the Ye residents with pastries from the imperial kitchen? Was there something wrong with his memory? After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Yeshu leaned back on the soft couch, squinting his eyes. Like a satisfied cat, he lazily rubbed his stomach. Jin Wang raised his head from the memorials. Are you feeling unwell? No. Yeshu said, I'm just a little bloated. Jin Wang suddenly understood, you ate too much again. Yeshu gave a low hum, too lazy to pay attention to him. The hall was silent. For a moment, only the sound of pages flipping in Jin Wang's hands could be heard. After a moment of silence, the half-closed door of the hall gently creaked, and a low meow of a cat could be heard. Yeshu straightened up, and his eyes lit up. San Air is here. The group of kittens that Yeshu had brought back were being raised in the temporary imperial residence. Excluding the female cat, there were a total of 5 kittens, named Da, Air, San, Si and Wu. The kittens grew quickly and were full of energy. They skipped around all day, and there was not even a shadow of a cat to be seen. Only the third kitten loved to play with Yeshu the most. It would heed the sound of its name. The door of the hall opened and the kitten named San Air rushed in like a wisp of smoke. The kitten's dark and round eyes turned and locked onto Yeshu, who was still sitting on the soft couch. It crawled onto the soft couch, and took the initiative to stretch its head next to Yeshu's hand. As it rubbed against him, it called out in a cute voice. Yeshu couldn't help but hug the kitten and give it a few kisses. When Jin Wang raised his head from the memorial, he saw that the man and the kitten had already fallen asleep on the soft couch. He walked to the soft couch, picked up the kitten and handed it over to the servant waiting at the side. Then, he bent down and carried Yeshu in a princess carry. As if sensing a familiar scent, Yeshu didn't open his eyes. Instead, he raised his hands naturally and hooked them around Jin Wang's neck. No matter when, this kind of dependent posture was enough to please the other man. Jin Wang's footsteps became lighter as he carefully placed Yeshu on the bed. When Yeshu's body touched the soft mattress, he stretched out comfortably. He half opened his eyes and rubbed them with his hands. Have you finished reviewing the memorials? Jin Wang replied, no, you should rest first. That won't do. Yeshu instantly woke up, but he still struggled to sit up. Later on, you'll find another reason to torment me. Jin Wang's expression became serious. Lie down. Yeshu was terrified and didn't move. Jin Wang, take off your clothes. Go to sleep. Yeshu obediently did as he was told. He took off his shoes and socks, and put his outer robe to the side. Jin Wang bent down and carefully took off the hair ornament on the back of his head. His long hair cascaded down the bed like a waterfall. Jin Wang looked at him and said softly, tomorrow, we will return to the palace. This wasn't out of Yeshu's expectations. His Majesty had stayed in the temporary imperial residence for half a month with the excuse of recuperating. During these days, he didn't go to court or summon any courtiers. The government affairs were only handled on the basis of its importance and urgency. Although it wasn't to the extent of neglecting government affairs, it would greatly affect his governing efficiency. Not to mention the plot of the novel had to move on from when Yeshu transmigrated to this world. Fortunately, His Majesty finally remembered that he still had a country to take care of. Yeshu thought expressionlessly. This was truly worthy of celebration. However, the next second, Jin Wang said, preparations for the wedding ceremony are imminent. This emperor will personally supervise it. Jin Wang smiled, go to sleep. We would have to rush early tomorrow. This person really didn't have any ambition at all. Did he transmigrate into a pirated novel? The next morning, the emperor's entourage set off from the temporary imperial residence and headed for the imperial capital. This time, the emperor was traveling in an inconspicuous manner. There were only a few guards with swords accompanying the carriage. Most of them were hidden in the shadows. At the front of the carriage, Chang Yuan was on horseback, vigilantly patrolling the area. Yeshu let down the curtains of the carriage and let out a sigh of relief. Jin Wang kept his word and didn't do anything to Chang Yuan. How is it? This emperor didn't lie to you, right. Jin Wang leisurely sipped his tea inside the carriage. Yeshu nodded and sincerely said, "Many thanks to your majesty for sparing his life." "Just a verbal gratitude." Yeshu patiently asked, "What does your majesty want?" Jin Wang didn't rush to answer. He scrutinized Yeshu and tilted his head with a smile. "This emperor wants you to give me a secret that no one else knows about you in exchange, and it must not be a fabricated one." End chapter. Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 15. When he heard Jin Wang's words, the first thing that came to Yeshu's mind was where he came from. If he had a secret that no one else knew about, it would be that he was a book transmigrator. But he didn't dare to say it. Not to mention that Jin Wang wouldn't believe him, but more importantly, Jin Wang was treating him like this because of his old relationship with the original. If he knew that he was an imposter, would he still be able to live? But other than that, what else could he say? Jin Wang saw his hesitation and asked, "Do you not want to tell Zhen?" He wasn't asking if he was willing or not, but if he wanted to or not. Jin Wang had a keen eye for people. Lying in front of him was definitely not a wise thing to do. The carriage slowly swayed as it moved forward. It was silent inside for a long time. Yeshu asked in a low voice, "Can this official not tell His Majesty right now?" Jin Wang raised his eyebrows. "Right now?" "Yes. This official will owe you the secret for now." Yeshu pursed his lips and promised, "One day in the future, this official will definitely tell your majesty." Jin Wang stared at Yeshu. The youth's eyes were clear and sincere, without any impurities. A soft part of Jin Wang's heart was moved slightly. Seeing that he didn't answer, Yeshu moved to Jin Wang's side and lowered his head. His head went under Jin Wang's arm that was holding the tea. "Your Majesty, I don't want to tell you right now. Just let me owe you this for a few days." His position made the distance between the two very close. Jin Wang's expression changed. "Move." Yeshu didn't move. After spending half a month together, he had already seen through Jin Wang's attitude towards him. This person had a foul mouth but a soft heart. On the surface, he looked unapproachable, but in reality, he liked Yeshu very much. He couldn't stand it when Yeshu acted coquettishly towards him. If this kind of person was a real historical figure, he would probably be an incapable ruler who brought disaster to the country. Fortunately, Yeshu didn't want to bring disaster to the country. He just wanted to live well. Yeshu wrapped his arms around Jin Wang's neck and said coquettishly, "Your Majesty will let me, right?" How could Jin Wang not see through his thoughts? He chuckled, put down the teacup and pulled him into his arms. "My beloved official, it's not impossible to keep this on tab for the moment, but only if you service Zhen in this carriage. Will Zhen agree?" Yeshu froze. Naturally, no one dared to board His Majesty's carriage. However, this carriage was not soundproof at all, and the curtains on both sides of the carriage could not be closed. As the carriage moved forward, gaps would appear from time to time. With so many experts outside, it was almost impossible not to notice what's going on inside. Why did this dog emperor have such a bad taste? Yeshu silently tried to move away, but Jin Wang held him even tighter. "What's wrong? You don't want to?" I haven't been feeling well these past few days." Jin Wang narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Where do you feel unwell? Let me examine you." Yeshu and Jin Wang looked at each other for a moment. Then, he suddenly pushed Jin Wang away and lifted the curtains. "Erg. Jin Wang." Yeshu vomited until he was dizzy, but he did not forget to turn around and explain, "Your Majesty, please listen to my explanation. I didn't mean to vomit." Jin Wang. This nauseating feeling came without warning. Yeshu only felt his stomach churned and threw up. When he woke up this morning, he did not have much of an appetite. He was only half forced to eat a few mouthfuls of porridge by Jin Wang, and now he vomited it all out. After a short while, a pair of hands reached over and held Yeshu's shoulders. A cup of tea was placed in front of his mouth. "Drink something." Jin Wang gently stroked Yeshu's back and fed him some tea. Then, he took out a brocade handkerchief and helped him wipe his face. He said with disdain, "You're dizzy from blood and motion sickness. Your body is so useless." Although he said this, he still pulled Yeshu into his arms. Yeshu lay weakly in Jin Wang's arms. He did not have the energy to bicker with him. He only raised his red eyes and looked innocently at Jin Wang. Did he do all this of his own volition? Moreover, he did not get motion sickness before. No matter how he thought about it, it was the original's fault. When the carriage entered the imperial capital, it was almost sunset. The emperor's imperial carriage had already been prepared. The eunuchs on both sides of the road bowed and kowtowed. The carriage stopped by the roadside but no one came out. A palace maid in the crowd dared to raise her head. At this moment, the curtains of the carriage were pulled open. The emperor walked out with a young man in his arms. The young man in his majesty's arms looked dainty and weak. His appearance could not be seen clearly. From the palace maid's angle, she could only see half of his handsome and fair face. He lay quietly in his majesty's arms, as if he had fallen asleep. Jin Wang did not look sideways. He carried the young man out of the carriage and into the emperor's imperial sedan. The muslin curtains outside the imperial sedan fell down, completely covering the two figures. The imperial sedan slowly left. Only then did the eunuchs begin to whisper. "Is that the emperor's imperial concubine that will be entering in the imperial harem? His Majesty actually personally carried her into the imperial carriage. I have never seen His Majesty dote on anyone like this before. I just don't know how long this favor will last. His Majesty used to treat Minister Ye very well, but in the end, didn't he?" Before they could finish speaking, the eunuchs looked at each other in dismay and did not dare to continue. Ever since left Prime Minister Yeshu was publicly executed, this name had become a taboo. Inside and outside the imperial capital, everyone who had discussed this matter had either quietly disappeared or suffered an unexpected calamity. There was a rumor in the palace that Minister Ye had died with grievances and had turned into a vengeful spirit to take revenge. The eunuchs did not dare to continue their discussion and quickly dispersed. Behind the crowd, only the palace maid who had raised her head earlier was still looking in the direction of the imperial carriage, deep in thought. Inside the emperor's imperial sedan, Jin Wang looked down at the pale face of the person in his arms and wrapped him in a blanket. Yeshu was suffering from severe motion sickness today. He vomited every hour. Even tea and plum juice were not enough to help him. The short 4 hours journey from the temporary imperial residence to the capital had taken them twice as long. The emperor's imperial sedan had always only been used by the imperial family. It was not as spacious as a carriage, so it was naturally not comfortable to ride on. Yeshu's brows furrowed tightly. He groaned and woke up. Jin Wang comforted him in a low voice, "We're almost at the sleeping quarters. Bear with it a little longer." "Oh." Yeshu raised his hand and pressed the space between his eyebrows. He said weakly, "I will never sit in a sedan again." Jin Wang disdainfully said, "Isn't it because your body is weak? Is there anybody else who is the same as you?" Yeshu was silent for a moment, then explained. "Your Majesty, motion sickness and blood sickness are innate. It has nothing to do with the strength of the body." Jin Wang raised his eyebrows. Yeshu immediately changed his words. "Yes, your Majesty is wise." The imperial sedan quickly arrived at the sleeping quarters. Jin Wang did not let Yeshu get up and directly carried him into the sleeping quarters. Yeshu had been tortured by the carriage ride for an entire day. As soon as he touched the bed, he immediately took off his shoes, socks, and outer robe. He rolled into the bed and pulled the blanket over himself. Jin Wang took off his outer robe and turned his head to see that the young man had already arranged everything for him. He shook his head and smiled, Zhen will go to the Imperial study to summon a few officials to discuss some matters. You can sleep for a while. If you're hungry, ask them to prepare food. There's no need to wait for Zhen. Yeshu was covered from head to toe. His exposed head nodded, yes, yes. Jin Wang changed into a black and gold dragon robe with the help of a servant. He walked to the bedside and removed the jade hairpin from Yeshu's head. You've been vomiting a lot these past few days. I'm afraid it has something to do with your stomach. Remember to ask Imperial Physician Feng to take a look at you next time. Yeshu was so sleepy that he could not open his eyes. He mumbled, I know. Jin Wang smiled and placed the jade hairpin at the head of the bed. He ordered the windows to be closed and the lights to be extinguished. Only then did he leave the sleeping quarters with his men. When Yeshu woke up again, the sky was completely dark. The sleeping quarters were silent. Only the moonlight shone through the window and cast a cold shadow over the hall. He raised his head and stared at the muslin canopy above his head. It took him a while to realize where he was. After a while, Yeshu sat up and called out in a low voice, Chang Yuan. The unlatched window opened and a figure knelt in front of him, young master. Yeshu glanced outside the window. Chang Yuan understood, young master, don't worry. His Majesty was worried that you would be disturbed. He has already sent the palace servants far away and won't be able to hear us. Good. Yeshu nodded and said, I called you here to ask, what did Jin Wang say to you? Chang Yuan was the original's trusted aide and was absolutely loyal to him. The original owner's conspiracy to rebel had never been hidden from him. Chang Yuan immediately recounted the conversation he had with Jin Wang in the palace. The more Yeshu listened, the more shocked he became. When Chang Yuan finished, Yeshu slowly said, he still suspects me. Chang Yuan lowered his eyes and did not reply. Yeshu asked again, what about you? Are you also suspicious of me? This subordinate has never doubted you. Chang Yuan said, this subordinate has always been by young master's side. No matter what young master does or what decision you make, this subordinate will always obey. The reason why I said those things to His Majesty before was to find out what His Majesty thinks of young master. Yeshu nodded, you've done well. Chang Yuan asked, what does young master plan to do next? Yeshu was slightly taken aback. These days, he had been staying by Jin Wang's side. Every day, he had been thinking about how to curry favor with that tyrant and how to survive while in his hands. But he had almost forgotten that he had originally wanted to escape. Yeshu's voice was inexplicably dry, of course I want to leave this place as soon as possible. Chang Yuan said, this subordinate understands. Yeshu said, but this matter is not urgent. His Majesty is keeping a close eye on me right now. We still need to plan for the long term. Yes. The dark hall fell silent once more. Yeshu's heart began to feel irritable for no reason. He fell back onto the bed and raised his hand, only to touch the jade hairpin next to his pillow. Yeshu had just transmigrated to this world and did not know how to tie up his hair, nor did he remember how to remove hair accessories. A few days before he arrived in this world, he had even been poked by hair accessories in his sleep several times. Jin Wang was afraid that he would be hurt by his hair accessories, so every day before he went to bed, he would personally remove the hairpin for him. After a few times, it had already become a habit. The hairpin was made of jade and felt cool to the touch. Yeshu's mood gradually calmed down. Forget it, the most important thing right now was to coax that dog of an emperor. Yeshu sat up and asked, where is His Majesty right now? Perhaps in the Imperial study. Have someone prepare a meal. I want to see him. After the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, Yeshu carried the food box to the Imperial study. The Imperial study was brightly lit. The head steward, Gao Jin, was standing guard outside the door. When he saw Yeshu arrived, he was about to announce his arrival but Yeshu indicated that there was no need. Gao Jin understood and stepped aside to let him in. Yeshu pushed open the door and entered. Inside the imperial study, Jin Wang did not even raise his head. Didn't Zhen say not to disturb Zhen if there was nothing important? The person who came in did not say anything. Jin Wang looked up and was startled. A youth wearing plain clothes stepped into the hall under the moonlight. His long hair was untied and scattered behind him, reflecting a faint luster under the moonlight. The door closed behind him. Yeshu smiled and looked into Jin Wang's eyes. It's boring to eat by oneself, so this official came to have a meal with His Majesty. End chapter.